So it sounds like you're telling us, Margaret, that Canada wants stability in a relationship with China.
The smell of corruption is in the air. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we are finding more details about who is joining Mark Carney on his trip to China. Boy, something stinks. We also have a ton of updates, world news, a bunch of stuff. Let's jump into this. Starting this off, we've got federal voting intentions here from 18 to 34-year-olds. Pierre Poilievre, 38, Mark Carney, 34, and 13% for the NDP. You would think this would be higher for the Conservatives. I mean, people got to wake up. I mean, we're not going to have a functioning country anymore if people don't wake up here. I mean, it's good Poilievre's in the lead, but we need to get a bigger lead. Moving ahead, we've got this one. Canada poised to lose 4,000 restaurants in 2026 because life is so hard. People don't have extra money to go out and eat at restaurants. It's sad. It's one of the first things to go. Thought this was interesting. Donald Trump is dumping $200 billion into mortgage bond buys to lower mortgage rates. As this account is pointing out here, this is following a trend of a bubble. You look at this one here, the 2006 housing crisis went up here and then crashed, and we're right here in 2026. This is for the American housing market, but this does affect us. And in this case, buying these bonds and then a crash. So there's a lot of moving pieces here on what's going to happen. Trump is making big moves. All his big moves affect us here in Canada. Now, we do have big news of Mark Carney going over to China and who he's bringing and what are they running here on CBC. We're going to count these out because this is crazy. So you can see Trump admin ending people in broad daylight. This is the story of the ICE officer who was in front of a vehicle. Radical leftist who was blocking the road hit the gas. Then the ICE officer shot her. She perished. This is the first one in this title. Is crazy. This is the second one here. Domestic terror lord claim in fatal ICE shooting. This is the third one. And I should remind you that this is all within 10 hours. How many that we've got here. But in this one, though, Catherine Cullen, listen to this.
You understand that this is a political tactic, as Mia was discussing, that's playing out here. And
she's talking about what's in America. J.D. Vance coming out, pushing back, saying the ICE officer's life was endangered, so he pulled the trigger. Donald Trump saying that he was run over, and that's why he pulled the trigger. And just to clarify, he wasn't run over. The car was ramming into him, and he had to jump around it while he was unloading his pistol.
Like, let's face it, we all know there's a trust problem with media, right? And so for some people in the audience, this is activating a sort of confirmation bias. Yeah, I don't trust the media. Yeah, I am worried about what they say. And perhaps that allows the message to get through a little bit more easily. And so as journalists, I think our responsibility in cases like that is to double down on the indisputable facts, to double down on the analysis. There is video evidence here. It is clear that different people are coming to different interpretations of what happened based on the multiple angles here. But to present this evidence clearly, fairly, and to keep focused on what this is fundamentally about. The story that is playing out in Minneapolis is obviously incredibly bad for the Trump administration, and that is part of the reason that we're seeing such an intense vitriolic leaning in. So keeping focused on what is at the heart of this. And I think, frankly, being careful about the discussion around the media, too, because a certain amount of pearl clutching doesn't reflect well on us. This is challenging. We want there to be free speech, but I think we're all...
Okay. You do want free speech. The liberal government that these guys have been supporting has been trying to take away our freedoms for the past decade. So I think she's going after the media in America and saying they're not trustworthy, basically, when really they're the ones that are not trustworthy. And sure, there's some reports and some of the stuff in America is being embellished. The ICE officer was being rammed with a car, which we can briefly show you here. No! You can see this is the ICE officer here, who's the one in front of the car and who pulls out his pistol. This guy's trying to open it, saying, get out of the car. And what does she try to do? She tries to flee, but in the process, she's driving straight into this guy. So I can't play any more here because when he starts pew-pewing it, YouTube doesn't like that. But he basically pew-pews straight through. It goes right into her noggin, and then she's out. And then she falls forward and her foot goes on the pedal, and then she crashes into the car over here. There's 1, 2, and 3. If you watch multiple angles, I've seen like all 9 camera angles. The cop behind this guy, which you can see right here. So he's getting hit. His like hip is getting hit by the vehicle. Now I have a different perspective on this because yesterday I was out walking and a newcomer nearly ran me over coming out of a parking lot. And I was very pissed off, and it was almost the exact situation where it hit my hip like that and I had to jump off. And the worst part about it is I was rucking, so I had a 33-pound pack on and I couldn't move that quick. And she slammed on the brakes. Oh, I'm so sorry. And I'll tell you from that experience, this ICE officer here is not going to see the direction of the tires because that's what the left are saying. You can see the direction of the tires are pointing that way. When you're in front of the vehicle and it's ramming into you, you can't tell the direction of the tires. You just know that something is ramming into you. It's terrifying. And while maybe this ICE officer was a little bit quick to start unloading the pistol, vehicle, when the officers give you an order to get out of the vehicle, like it's time to stop the vehicle, get out of the vehicle. And she disobeyed the order. She started driving into an officer. I mean, it's a terrible thing. She's got 3 kids. This didn't need to happen. This story is being run, as I said, like on 9 different panels here on CBC within 10 hours. We've got another one here. We've got another one here. These are all different panels, all talking about this, trying their best to go after Donald Trump and make him look bad. We've got this one here.
She was a mother of 3, that she had 2 older children from a previous marriage, a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old, but then she also had a 6-year-old son.
I believe on X, there was the ex-brother-in-law came out and said, what was she doing there? She had no business being there with 3 kids. Why is she blocking the roads? Why is she protesting? Why is she stirring this stuff up? She should have been at home with her kids. I mean, that's the reality of this. This didn't have to happen. She didn't have to be ended. The ICE officer, a little quick with a pistol, sure, but he was being run over. I mean, what do you expect here? If she obeyed the law, this wouldn't have happened. Anyways, moving forward, here's another one. This is what, number 8. This is number 9. This is all they're running all day on CBC. Now, the reason I think they're doing wall-to-wall coverage is because they don't want to be talking about Mark Carney going over to meet with Xi Jinping in China. That's not good optics, saying China's the #1 national security threat and then going and meeting with him and becoming strategic partners. Carney doesn't want people looking where he's going. Cover the news with all this American stuff and make Trump look bad.
And just ask you what you think of the prospects of some sort of a deal or agreement being struck to remove those EV tariffs in exchange for the removal of tariffs on canola and other agricultural products.
Well, I can tell you that I had discussions in Ottawa late last year where I was told that there would have to be trade-offs. And of course, what I understood from that was that in exchange for lifting or reducing the tariffs on electric vehicles from China, that the Chinese would do the same thing on canola. But in fact, I think the Prime Minister Carney is quite concerned about further problems that we could have with Donald Trump, and he knows that Donald Trump has said that the United States don't need Canadian cars, and therefore one possible solution to keep Ontarians working would be to invite a Chinese EV car manufacturer to come to Canada, and the arrangement could be similar to the one that GM Canada struck when it went to Shanghai a number of years ago to build a plan whereby we would tell the Chinese that after 3 years, 30% of the components of these cars has to be Canadian, and after 10 years, it would be 100%. And so in case that things further deteriorate with the United States, well, we would have a good quality car that would be built in Canada that would ensure employment. So
built by Canadians but owned by the Chinese regime. Are they going to be putting spy software in there? At the beginning of his statement there, he said, so I just rewound it here. He says, Prime Minister Mark Carney is quite concerned about further problems this would create with Donald Trump. I don't think he is, because he's going over to China right now. He should have postponed this trip. He should have canceled this trip. He should be working out a deal with Donald Trump. But clearly he's doing this to benefit himself. Prime Minister Mark Carney to build strategic partnerships. And I showed you in the previous video, strategic partnerships. Are we going to be bringing on all the other strategic partners of China, North Korea, Iran, Russia, etc.? So he's going over there January 13th to the 17th to meet with Xi Jinping. He'll also meet with Premier of China, Li Qiang. We got conservative Dean Allison posting this. After Chinese operatives may have interfered in 2 Canadian elections, the government passed Bill C-70 to counter foreign interference, then set no deadline to enforce it. We're now told China is a new partnership, and even Mark Carney is suddenly choosing his words carefully after calling the PRC Canada's #1 security threat. Election interference, no accountability, new law, no enforcement, Beijing trip, smiles, and silence. Obviously, the dirty dog Mark Carney is doing some dirty deals in China. And that brings us to Stephen Chase. Well, who's Stephen Chase? He works at the Globe and Mail. So coming directly from the Globe and Mail, he says Liberal MP Michael Ma, who defected from the Conservatives in December, will be among those accompanying Mark Carney to Beijing next week, the Prime Minister's office said. Michael Ma is joining Mark Carney in China, and you can see Anne Brandt posting this clip here of Tim Hodgson and Michael Ma at this event. So there's Tim Hodgson there, and this is just a few months ago. And the next clip, there's Michael Ma. This is obviously where this connection is. Tim Hodgson appears to be friends with Aaron O'Toole as well. This whole situation absolutely stinks of corruption. Michael Ma defects, and then now he's going over to China with Mark Carney, what is a representative to... This is just unbelievable. The Canadian people should not stand for this kind of crap. trap. The Chinese government absolutely targets individuals across the political spectrum, so regardless of who wins, the CCP always has influence. They can also clearly have someone switch sides when it helps them as well. That sums it up right there. The CCP doesn't care. They just want to have influence no matter what. He defected to the Liberals, and now he's going over to China. With Mark Carney going to China, we've got Sam Cooper sharing this one here. This is a post originally from Michael Kovrig, and this chart is actually an old one. This is kind of like a vintage moose chart somebody made. You can see the timeline here. I'll make it big. Goes all the way back to 1970s here, 1989. There's a bunch of information on here. It has Mark Carney on it, Justin Trudeau, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, Jean Chrétien, Power Corporation, Canada-China Business Council, SNC-Lavalin, the Desmarais family here, Paul Martin. There's a reason why Jean Chrétien went there first. We don't know what that is, but the media is saying, oh, he's just greasing the wheels. Jean Chrétien went there first to meet with Xi Jinping's top guys, and then Mark Carney's going over there. There's some dirty deal that they're doing there. Canadians shouldn't stand for this. The transparency out of our government is absolutely despicable. Now, one other place that Mark Carney's stopping off is this. Prime Minister Carney to diversify Canada's trade, attract new investment, and secure new economic partnerships with visit to Qatar. So it says here he'll travel to Doha, Qatar on January 18th, 2026 for bilateral visit. He will meet with Amir of Qatar, His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, to deepen relationship between Canada and Qatar. Now, why is this important that he's going to Qatar? I've got the answer on here. It's this. So this is the Qatar flag, this reddish purpley kind of color with these white triangles. And you can see Brookfield has so many dealings with Qatar. Mark Carney is going to check on Brookfield's investments, or how to push something forward for Brookfield and Qatar to make money. That's what I think he's doing over there. He's not going to strengthen Canada's ties with Qatar.
So it sounds like you're telling us, Margaret, that Canada wants stability in a relationship with China. What are you expecting to emerge? Do you think that there could be some sort of trade agreement in the works? Do you think that some of China's tariffs will be rolled back? What are you watching for, and what is your level of expectation?
Well, I know that Canadian government officials have been working very, very actively in recent months to try to resolve the canola issue. China has explicitly said that we must remove the 100% tariff on Chinese electric vehicles in order to have the tariff on canola removed. They make these connections to other sectors, and this is part of their coercive behavior. And if we did remove that 100% tariff on electric vehicles, it would kill our auto sector pretty quickly, because we'd get, not really cheap Chinese autos. Some people think we could buy a Chinese car for $14,000. That's not true. They price their cars in Europe at 10% below the competitors. And so that allows them to really get those sales. And so, China is not a market for the problems we're having with the U.S. They're not going to solve our auto problem. In fact, they want to dump their excess cars here. They're not going to solve our aluminum and steel problem. They want to dump their excess steel and aluminum here. What we can talk to them about is alternatives, other things that they might like instead of dumping their excess products, like more investment in our conventional energy. And we know from Prime Minister Carney that we're going to be making massive investments in that area. Chinese investment would be welcome in conventional energy. I don't include clean energy and clean technologies in that, because they've taken small Canadian companies to the cleaners. They've taken our IP and they ease out the Canadian partner over time. So that's a real risk to be looking at clean technology for that sector. And I would also point out that while China likes to talk about how they are our next biggest trading partner after the U.S., it's only 3.8% of our exports. The trade with the U.S. is 76% of our exports. The EU is 8%, and the U.K. is just a touch behind China. So we'd be better off focusing on Europe and England, and as well the Indo-Pacific, the other partners that are like-minded partners, or like Vietnam, countries with common interests.
This is well said. I mean, we should be exporting more oil to China if they want to buy it, but we shouldn't be trying to integrate all this other stuff. We don't having China start up BYD in Canada and then work out some deal with canola. As she mentioned, once they get their hands on our companies, steal the technology. I mean, they do this with so many things. China should not be allowed to buy any property in Canada. They shouldn't be able to buy businesses. They shouldn't be able to buy land. They should be able to buy nothing in Canada. We can't buy over there. They shouldn't be able to buy here. And not even just off a reciprocal point of view, but just the fact that they can't be trusted. So why are we allowing them buy our stuff? Justin Trudeau's ban on foreign buying, it only applies to core city zones. You can still buy land outside, businesses, that kind of thing. So it's not across the nation. I thought this was interesting, you know, with all the stuff people are using with Grok. Marty up north posting this. Remove the one who's most likely to profit immensely on the backs of hardworking Canadians. Replace him with Xi Jinping. And as you can see, it replaced Mark Carney. Meanwhile, in Canada, we've got Melissa posting this one. In case you're wondering, 4,300 liters of precursor chemicals used for street fennel was sent to Canada from China. Enough for potentially 13 billion doses of the street fennel. Yeah, that's enough to wipe out our entire country many times over. This kind of thing should be treated as your entire life in prison if you're involved in this. This is, I mean, it should be treated as you're trying to end lives. Now, speaking of lives ending here, we have protests in Iran. They're finally covering this on CBC.
Now 4 in the morning. Huge shout out to our verification team in Toronto at CBC, because they have been working very hard to track what video is actually trickling out of the country over the last few hours. This is what we can show you of the capital of Tehran. Images show you can see a large group of people walking toward.
Yeah, so people are revolting. People are filling the streets. There's other videos I can't show you of the Islamic regime that are just completely annihilating people and wiping them out. It's all very savage there. We do have this video, which I can't really play, but you can see Iran is going through a revolution. Islam is falling. It's just madness. We also have Anita Nand with this one. Canada condemns Russia's massive drone strike on these Russian places I can't pronounce, which caused a blackout affecting over 1 million people. I mean, Russia is still unloading here. This is just complete madness. Meanwhile, out of the UK, we've got Keir Starmer here saying it's time to get some troops ready from the UK going to Ukraine.
Today, we signed a declaration of intent on the deployment of forces to Ukraine in the event of a peace deal.
So every country has their different security guarantee, and the UK is to put boots on the ground. And wrapping up this episode, I've finally edited another one of my hiking videos. If you're looking to cool down with something else, I find these therapeutic to edit. This is an episode here where I kind of explain and check out an ancient volcano here on top of this mountain. This chunk of mountain here is the only one in this entire area covered by lava rock, which is incredibly unique. 30 million year old volcanic basalt, rich in iron and magnesium, with minerals such as which towers over top of this lake. Here's another shot of it. It's all very interesting if this is your kind of jam, which you're seeing on the screen here now. If you want to check it out, it's there. I feel we're going to need to cool down here going into the next section, because with stuff that Mark Carney's doing, I have a feeling it's going to be a real blood boiler.